Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight. Headlines we have the first edition of the National Robotic Competition in Djibouti. For the international scene, Egypt 22 royal mummies in the streets of Cairo. Welcome to our newsroom. As usual, you will follow the special edition dedicated to the election campaign immediately right after this news with our colleague Gassira Ali. Joining us on the other side is what are the headlines of the day for the conduct of the campaign for the presidential elections between our two candidates.
Good evening, Mohammed, and thank you. Well, the leading stories of this edition are that the fact that we will go around in all the region of the country, the campaign for the presidential election that will take place on April 9 continues, and the team of UMP candidates present in all the four corners of the country conduct a proximity campaign in favor of the candidate, His Excellency Ismail Margili, namely in the white city of Tajura, the locality of Mabla, and the forest of Dai. And for Obakh region, Mulhule and Angairu for the region of Dukhil, the locality of Mulud, and finally Arta, the locality of the Merjuk. And as for the independent candidate Zakaria Ismail Farah, we are going to see with him for his campaign in the region of Arta.
Thank you, Kasra. The Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship organized for the first time in the country a national robotic competition this Friday at the gymnasium of the Djibouti State High School. The National Robotics Competition is a competition dedicated to the students in Djibouti with the aim of inspiring them while promoting education in the modern technology system. The kickoff of this competition was given by the director of the Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, Ms. Uba Hamalo Ahmed. The competition had opposed in the first place the different colleges of middle school education of the capital. Then on the second part, the different high schools. The ceremony was attended by Mr. Sheikh Mohammed Abdallah, Director of Operations of the Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, and the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Education, Mohammed Abdallah Mahyoub. The closing of the competition which saw the involvement and participation of students from the capital. The first place was won by the High School of Dogle, followed by the High School Excellence. The winners were rewarded with medals and the cup, as well as checks to enable them to advance their projects. The National Robotic Competition is a competition dedicated to students in Djibouti with the aim of inspiring them while promoting education in the modern technology system. The winning team will have to participate in the Pan-African competitions and will represent Djibouti at the continental level. The ceremony was chaired by Mr. Sheikh Mohammed Abdallah. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Education and Vocational Training, Mohammed Abdallah Mahyoub, welcomed the competitions. The National Robotic Competition, he said, is a national competition between the high school of the capital in Djibouti, and with the aim of inspiring them while promoting education in the modern technology system. The press release, the General Management of the National Fund, Social Fund informs pensioners that the payment deadlines for the first quarters of 2021 will start on April 5, 2021 from 7 a.m. The first 3 days will be dedicated to widows only. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the payment operations will take place as follow: distribution of masks and hand washings at the entrance of the receptions, all opening of 8 payment counters to ensure speed and avoid the risks of contamination. Retirees who consent will be directed to the vaccinodrome located within the National Security Fund. For the international scene, Egypt, 22 royal mummies in the street of Cairo, 22 two chariots carrying the mummies of ancient Egypt kings and queens paraded through the streets on Cairo on Saturday night in a pharaonic spectacle to join the national museums of Egyptian civilization. The new home of the royal mummies, flanked by a mounted guard, the first black chariots decorated with bricks and with gold motifs reminiscent on ancient funerary boats, left Tahrir squares and the Cairo Museum, where the mummies have been resting for more than a century. At 20 hours, the square was closed to traffic and pedestrians, as was the entire 7 kilometers route through the streets of Cairo to the national museums in the south of the capital. The tanks arrived at the new museums at around 8 p.m. to the sound of cannon fires and were welcomed by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. They will be presented alongside their sarcophagi in a sitting reminiscence of the underground tomb of kings with a biography and object linked to the sovereigns. COVID-19 U.S. eases restrictions despite risks of a new peak. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention is now allowing Americans who have been vaccinated to travel within the countries without a quarantine or testing period, but experts warn that caution is advised as infections continue to rise in several states. More than 100 million Americans are now vaccinated. A new record was set on Friday when more than 4 million people were vaccinated in a single day. The weekend in New York City, theaters were able to open their curtains with the first times in months to a limited number of vaccinated patrons. California announced the resumption of indoor sports competitions in mid-April by Dr. Fauci, who speaks the Institute of Infectious Diseases, warns that the pandemic is far from over. It's going very well as far as vaccinations is concerned, but one of the things that worries us that in some states there is a danger on a major peak in the epidemic. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.